Welcome to My Mind and Mental Health, the podcast redefining mental well being, one raw conversation at a time. My name's Kirshni, your emotionally self aware bestie, here to remind you that your mental health always matters. I am super duper excited for today's episode and even more excited to be sharing the platform with some amazing people, Miss Sarah and Miss Mary.
Hi guys, my name is Sarah Joseph. All from Arusha, Tanzania. I am so glad to be with you guys for another time. I am happy to see you smile, Mary. How have you been?
I've been great. Nice to see you, ladies. My name is Mary Immaculate from Nairobi, Kenya. I am a mental health advocate, and I'm excited about this conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing our guest speaker, who's been a good friend. Two, we hold a hand, and I look forward to this podcast. So, Kashni, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are unpacking how childhood trauma and basically life's transitions collide to shape our mental health. And guys, why would you say it's important to understand this topic?
I think we all growing up, and at some point, childhood has been haunting us. The experiences we've been having are always coming back to us. So I feel like it's very important we understand how this transition and childhood traumas do affect our mental health.
I think it's an amazing topic, especially in this time and season, where mental health is affecting a lot of people. And I think earlier we were laughing about it, Chantal, that in most of African communities, children are only to be seen and not to be heard. So the impact of childhood trauma and transitions really show up when it's almost too late. And so today I know we are going to learn so much, the link between trauma, transitions, and mental health, and just the importance of supportive systems. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, drum rolls. Our guest speaker is called Shanta Maharaj. She is a specialist wellness counselor, and I will let her introduce herself and add any other details that I've left out. Karibu sana, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Thanks for the drum roll as well. I quite like that. Guys, because I'm doing this in my professional capacity and I will be making certain comments that are based on science, etc. I would like to just make it very clear that I am a specialist wellness counselor. I'm licensed by the Association for Supportive Counselors and Holistic Practitioners in South Africa, and my license number is SWC/25/15072. I'm based in Gordons Bay in the Western Cape.
We often think that, trauma has to be something big. The ladies and I were saying it has to be something violent, or it has to be some major accident. But in actual fact, it's in some cases, it's something quiet. It's the small, repeated experiences that generally just go unnoticed until one day you are adulting and you feel overwhelmed. And I was telling to the ladies that, growing up, I was a pampered only child and I looked like I had it all together. But inside, I was told you need to be the best. And now I was becoming this perfectionist. I started to panic over small mistakes, constantly convinced that I was just too emotional. And looking back, it wasn't about me being hypersensitive. I grew up that I needed to be the best at everything, and that love came with this expectation. And those were the subtle hints and tips that I got from loved ones around me. So, Doc, how does early trauma really affect a young person? And, how does it make them handle stress later in life?
I kept on nodding my head when you were talking, and I think you ladies noticed that. We ignore the indirect trauma that a child goes. So here's a glaring example. Let's say hypothetically, the father dies or the mother dies, right? And this child has grown up and then says to the surviving parent, but mom or dad was very good to me, didn't do me any wrong, and I will always have good memories. That poor child is masking. Because, yes, his father or mother never abused him, but he watched his caregiver being abused, whether it was screaming, whether it was financial abuse, whether children have even watched sexual abuse, physical abuse. They've watched a lot. And in our African continent, it's no different to anywhere else in the world. There are some other places that are horror stories, so we talk about this trauma and how it comes up. Oh, it comes up in the weirdest ways. And when you look at these people as adults, some of them become overcompensating parents. We don't understand what financial trauma does to our children. When you just say no, no, no without reason, excuse me, they think you're victimizing them.
Growing up, at some point, I love you mentioned something about financial issues. At some point, I had to shift schools. I was in grade 2. I had to shift from a Swahili medium school where everything was done in Swahili to a school where everything is done in English. And that was a major transition in my life. So Shanta, if I may ask, why do you think these transitions hit children so hard?
They destabilize you. That's exactly what they do.
Oh.
And besides destabilizing you, how do you adapt? And then you don't know why your parents, because your parents don't say, well, we did it because dad needed a job or mom needed a job and we didn't have enough money or whatever we did it for. Your parents themselves are trying to keep an image.
Yeah.
So they don't. The problem for me is that parents do not speak to the children enough.
I have a similar experience because my parents moved around a lot because they were civil servants. So I moved from school to school to school until my parents were like, okay, this is too much for this child. And so I attended a very strict Catholic primary boarding school at 10 years.
I also attended a Catholic school.
Yes, so you know how nuns run schools. And being 10 years, I was a short girl. I just felt like I'm going to die for sure. I lost all my uniforms on the first week of school. I don't even know how to wash properly. I am as short as my bucket. It was difficult. And so, again, the parents are expecting that you fit into this system. And so, Shanta, I think for me, the question could be, what are some of trauma symptoms that are unrecognized? There's the obvious, maybe we can start with the obvious, and then some that are very unique that maybe would assist us to support others and ourselves, especially maybe someone like me who's a mother of 2.
So what are the things we see? Behavioral changes, appetite, mood swings. The dangerous one that's never picked up, and this worries me, is we look for the negative behavioral changes. We don't wonder why this introverted child, this child who was a homebody, is suddenly this extrovert. And we think, oh, how nice, you're talking to everybody. You got friends, 3 cheers for you. But we become so clouded with what we want. We want that quiet child to, start associating with others that we forget to see a problem. Watch how your child changes the way of dressing as well. Clothes speak. Whether we want to admit it or not, clothes speak. Or if they start becoming too spiritual, Be wary, be very wary. Watch the bathing, the hygiene. Hygiene is very important. And they also start stealing money. And when you find things are disappearing from your home, don't go look for the neighbor's child. Look for your own. When they start talking a lot about life after death, they start getting too philosophical at too young an age. That's another red flag.
What are some of the practical ways to build resilience?
Firstly, we don't discriminate amongst our children. That's one of the most important things. One more thing. Parents, please become tech savvy and understand those emojis. They need to know these things. So yeah, those emojis.
Those emojis have deeper meanings. People don't verbalize it. In this day and age, people don't verbalize it. But those emojis can mean a lot.
Yeah.
How can people really find healing with things they went through in childhood and didn't get enough room to heal when they were children?
So the teachers, the proper counselors in the religious groups, right? Then there are so many NGOs. We have one here that I'm affiliated to, Lifeline and Rape Crisis. I'm very passionate about that organization. Very, very passionate. And they are free. They are online. That's not the only online one. Internationally, there's online where you actually get a registered counselor on the other end, a family member who you can trust. But now, here's the other thing. Don't go to, this is for girls especially, and boys, but mostly girls. Don't go to some uncle and give him your story, because in this day and age, I'm sorry, I don't trust uncles, aunts, anybody. So I would say teachers, your church, your temple, your mosque, but go to somebody who won't judge you, because if they're going to judge you, it's making it worse.
We need to offer young people support without judgment or labeling, because there's a lot of labeling, even at a time where, for example, in Kenya, there's something labeled a Gen Z protest, where young people are taking to the street to oppose police brutality and, corrupt government, and there's been a lot of deaths. And so, of course, there's a labeling among ages that these Gen Zs, it's almost like they're only fighting for themselves. And so the labeling really keeps putting a big gap between the problem and the solution and the support systems. So I think for me, the question I would ask, especially in a society that is evolving, there's even the African context in terms of the way we approach counseling and therapy and mental health, which I know is a big discussion for another time. I'll just give an example of other social emerging issues that were not there before: separation and divorce. In African context now, where children are adversely affected, but because the adults feel like they are going through so much, they totally forget that children need support, or in that transition. Blended families, co-parenting, things that we somehow didn't hear much.
Same-sex parenting. Same-sex parenting.
Yes, same-sex parenting. There's some. So I think my question could be like, what those emerging trends and transitions, especially in African context, and just how we can support our children and our young people better.
Okay, so when it comes to divorce, right? They say that our parents stuck it out. Sometimes I wonder whether they stuck it out or whether they just had an agreement. Because I want you to look back at your grandparents. Were they very loving towards each other in your presence?
No.
No,
Nope.
really.
Nope.
They ran their homes like a business.
Yeah.
Huh? There were a handful who even showed affection to each other.
Yeah.
That was that time. So this comes down, right? It's not a Gen Z thing. It's our children are becoming more alert. Social media is influencing them. So how would we help these children? How would we identify it? How would we ease this whole thing in society? To start off with, non-judgmental mannerisms is very, very important, right? The other thing now, we have become, when we look at co-parenting, it's an accepted thing. Women are out there working. Some of us don't want to have that. We don't want to give up our financial freedom. Right? We want to still keep that independence. So what do? We have very different types of family setups. Okay. As Africans, not easily accepted. The man can have 5 wives. If he's married to all of them, fine. But immediately there's a setup where she doesn't want to get married. She just wants to live with him. Then she's a bad woman. So the one who chooses to be wife number 3 or 4 is a better woman there. There's just too much that comes in. How do we deal with this from the cultural point? Be very careful, because in some cultures where there's honor killings, I'm not sure if you've heard of honor killings as far as Canada, where Pakistani families, Indian families, they're killing their people. If you just bring a bit of disgrace to the family, you're going to be killed.
The sad reality of things is that talking about mental health, talking about childhood trauma in many of our communities, it's still a topic frowned upon. It's still taboo. It's sad, whether you come from an educated family, whether you're a professional, whatever society you belong to, whatever economic standing, it's still a frowned upon topic that needs to be pushed under the carpet. And today we unpacked a lot, from the invisible weight of childhood trauma to the emotional turbulence of major life transitions. We each have a story. What I've learned is that for me and from the community that I come from is mental health isn't a destination. It's a journey that we're all on. And every step, no matter how messy, no matter how unclear, it's still progress. Talking about it helps. So Shanta, for me, I'd like to say, what advice would you give to someone listening to us out there, someone feeling lonely, someone feeling misunderstood? What advice would you give to this person?
First and foremost, there's nothing wrong with the person. They are entitled to feel that way, and they deserve to be heard. My only issue is who they go to. The person they go to can make or break them. Really, they can. And that is my biggest worry. You deserve to be heard, but make sure that your words fall on the right ears. The brain is resilient, but don't take that for granted. As parents, it's our duty to build the resilience and stop telling the children, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Yeah. Because you're putting pressure on them. I hate it when someone says to me, you can do it. Like when I was busy with my thesis last year. Oh, you got this. Oh, I had a problem.
So to wrap up, what would you want to tell our beautiful listeners?
Don't be ashamed of experiencing mental health issues. And just remember this, if you have the courage to go and seek help, the other thing is don't preach to somebody else who does not have the courage. Encourage people in a gentle, kind, and loving way. Be kind. You don't know what they're going through. You really don't know. Don't nag somebody. And never, ever, never use the word must. Nobody must do anything unless that is an instruction. And never compare.
Wow. Wow, Shanta, you have left us thinking. I think for me, what has stood out the most is that teenagers, their brains are, there's so much going on in their minds, brain chemicals, their development, and we just need to be kinder, more loving, more knowledgeable to be able to love and to support them through that season. I think that's my main takeaway tonight. There'll be many more discussions around this. And we just are coming to the end. I think I also want to highlight the part you've said that it almost sounds like toxic positivity, the part that people keep saying, you can do it, you're very strong, yet you're struggling so badly. And it's amazing. It's almost like the generation that we are raising has that chip installed in them already. That is my takeaway, and probably just to wrap this wonderful podcast, my mind and mental health, as we try to redefine the narrative around mental health, just one conversation at a time. We want to thank We Hold a Hand for enabling us to be here. And I just look forward to more episodes, and to thank my co-hosts and to request that we keep these conversations going, even in our private circles, for our friends and family, of course, with a lot of encouragement, kindness, and compassion.
Today's episode resonated with anyone, please consider sharing it with a friend, leaving a comment, follow our podcasts. You never know who might need to hear exactly what you just did. If you're looking for a support community, We Hold a Hand, follow us. We are here to help you. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Stay curious about your healing. Keep showing up. One breath, one day, one choice.
Thank you so much, guys. That was an amazing one. Thank you, guys.